Okay, excellent. Hi, everybody. And thank you very much for joining this session with me. My name is Ram Samocha. I'm the director of Draw to Perform. And this is the sort of the first kind of like a meeting and the opening of the celebration of 10 years to Draw to Perform. And I thank you for joining me here. I'm really excited to see familiar faces that went and collaborated with me over the years. Other that may be collaborated in the future, and yes, so this is like sort of an introduction. I'll just say like the structure of this meeting, so it will be clear in my head, and we'll go from there. So first of all, I will try to say to kind of like say proper thank you, and then I will introduce sort of the process or the activity that Draw to Perform has done through the years, through all those 10 years, and eventually, and this is the main part actually of this meeting, we will kind of like I will open it to questions and to kind of like a conversation between us all. Brainstorming about performative drawing and kind of like understanding the future of drawing and performance, and also kind of like you know sharing stories or anecdotes of events that happened in the past and are relevant to the discussion that we're doing here. Okay, so proper, we said. Draw to Perform. So Draw to Perform kind of like started in 2013 in London with the first festival that I organized back then. Saying thank you for this 10 years of activity, I would like to start with thank all the. Actually, I counted it, and over these 10 years, I've been collaborated with more than 150 artists. So it was mind-blowing for me. And I thank all of you for this journey, this incredible journey that was for me. And you know, like sometimes it wasn't that it wasn't that easy. Although there was, from the beginning, there was a lot of enthusiasm about participating in a project like this. So if I'm looking at the website of Draw to Perform, so after Draw to Perform, the title that is there since the beginning is an international community for drawing performance. And this is exactly what I was trying from the beginning to achieve with Draw to Perform, is kind of like organizing an organization that will be able to give a stage to artists, present the practice of performance and drawing. And you know, like when back then in 2013, it was not even the name of drawing performance was not settled if it's performance drawing performance. And lately I've been using much more often performative drawing, which I think is very suitable for what is going on there in those years of creation for this art practice. So I'm shifting around, but that was the beginning of thanking the artists that participated on the projects that I organized through the years with Draw to Perform. And next one, I would like to thank my family, and especially my wife, Michal, that supported me through those years and believed in the ideas that I continue to present for her. And each time I was saying to her, oh yes, it's going to be some small project, and eventually it got larger into something that lasted more than a year. And yeah, and all those years, and you know, there were ups and downs, and but in terms of believing in the ability of running this project, but overall there was a lot of support and a lot of space that were given me through the years to build this this organization that we're celebrating 10 years for it. Other thanks going to organizations that I've been working with them over the years. Like a lot of organizations were there, and lately, after 10 years, last year, we finally also got the support of the Art Council England for the last, the 6th festival of Draw to Perform. So I'm very happy with all those organizations that supported, gave space, gave space for workshops that we did, for mentorship, and I'll go about all the activities soon. And lastly, is for the viewers that kept coming and appearing in those events, in those workshops, and all those activities online and not on site that we are doing through the years. And it's always surprising me, and I'm always very happy to see the reaction of people that has no idea of what I'm talking, if it's drawing performance drawing, what it is, formative drawing. And the minute that the action's starting, and they can feel the energy, and they can feel the live action that's happening, and understanding that something that is very unique and has no replacement is happening through in front of their eyes, then something is kind of like there is a magic there. And thanking for all of you that been there. That's it. I think this is the part of the thank you. Now, I'm going to share my screen, and there are a lot of things that I won't be covering. And then, as you see, also it's not kind of like a lecture that I'm going to give here today. It's more like a welcome and like less formal this Zoom meeting I am nervous because it's kind of like I'm not seeing the that it says that it's recording. Yes, it's recording, but because of the recording, I guess I'm quite nervous. And but I hope that it will gradually will come down. I'm going to start by. Of course, you're most welcome to later on to ask me more about the evolvement and things that happened in the past. But I'm going to share the screen and talk about the flagship of Draw to Perform, which is the festival. We have 6 festivals. I'll share the screen and I'll go there to talk about it. So it's okay. Can you see it all? Okay. So so as you can see in the website, on the website, there are a few sections that showing the activity of Draw to Perform through the years. And the first one is the festival. There are events that were going through the years in many places. If it's in London, if it's in Canada, in Israel, and so on. There were a lot of workshops that we did through the year. And when I'm saying we, so maybe it's time to say it. Draw to Perform is kind of like an organization of one person. I founded it, and I'm the director of Draw to Perform. But when I'm saying we, I was always, and this is the main thing why I did Draw to Perform, is to communicate with other people, with other artists, with other creative people. So when I'm saying workshops, it was always with other people that gave their workshop in the umbrella of Draw to Perform. Through the years, also there were a few residencies that we did, and quite few of you are here that participated in those residencies. We had in 2018, 2019 too, and when the COVID started, it stopped. The residencies stopped, and I hope that in 2024 I will be able to start the next one. More about future activities, I will talk about it in the end after showing you after talking about the festivals. But after talking more about the activities, there are also mentorship, which happening on site and online, which is a one-on-one mentorship with other people that's coming and kind of brainstorming and you know, like yes. I stop here in terms of explanation and going to just a moment, sorry. One of the things that COVID bring to us was the online program that we did. And that was, it's kind of like went down a little bit, but talking with other artists all over the world in sessions and Zoom sessions, which I really liked it. I hope that it will continue more. But saying that, I will just talk briefly about the progression of the festivals. So through the years, I started to to think about festivals or events that relating to drawing and performance. And that always came from my need to understand how to communicate and how to brainstorm about a subject that is that at that time kind of like occupied my mind in my studio and in my activities. And through the years, I built a subject about the festival that I organized. So in 2013, I started this festival was kind of like an introduction for this practice. So it was a mix between short performances and durational performances, and there was no like a big subject, but there were talks there, and you can see here a few of the performances that happened through those 3 days. What you see here is the day of the performance, the live performances, but there were days of discussions and screening and many others. Okay. The second festival of Draw to Perform was in 2005, where I started to think about I was starting to think about durational performances. So overall, until then, I did short performances that were around 30 minutes, and more and more I started to feel like I want to explore durational performances, and that's where I kind of like invited other people to see what you can do in 6 hours of performances, and that was the second festival, which is about durational, as I said. In this festival, people, because it was 6 hours, people had the option to come and go whenever they want, to see the development of the action, and to go back. Sorry that I'm jumping here, but it's just because there are so many information. The third Draw to Perform festival was in 2016, and it was in London, and it was all about collaboration. Collaboration with the audience, collaboration with artists, and and so exploring the possibility of collaborating with each other and the options, and that was a massive event with, I think, 30 artists that participated in this festival, and maybe we'll talk about it later on. The fourth one was about movement, about the body and putting marks and making marks. That was in Fabrica. This was the fourth. The fifth was about, as you can hear, about the sound of drawing. So I started to be more fascinated with the ability to include sound in the action. And that's where I invited other people to show what you can do through sound, and that was in 2018. And maybe let's hear it again without jumping. Samir.
We can't hear the sound, Ram.
Sorry. Jumping again. So that was in 2018. And it took me quite a long time to understand what I want to do next for the last festival. And it kind of like again went from what I had in my studio. So in my studio, I started to realize that I'm shifting and going from the action of drawing to a more layered work, and that eventually what was the theme that I was interested in, and it was from drawing to painting live. So understanding the kind of like the shift from primeval mark making to a more layered one action. And that was last year. Maybe I'll show this. It's quite a short one. Yeah. So I don't know if you saw it, and I'll stop sharing here, I think now. Don't know if you saw it there, but the last festival was in a different venue. So over the past one were in a sort of like in Brighton, in a sort of like a church that converted into a gallery. And the last one, I wanted it to be more connected to the community, and it was in a gallery that is part of a building that 100 artists are having studios there. And the gallery itself, in the gallery itself, I displayed all the work that I created through all those 5 years, that relating to drawing, performance, and painting. I titled the exhibition Drawing After Performance, and it actually shifted from Brighton last year. And tomorrow there will be the closing of the same exhibition in London, where I am showing at the Stone Space the same exhibition. And it's all about the idea of taking the remnants of the live performance, the marks that were done in live performances, and taking it back to the studio and reworking with it, and kind of like move from something that was done very energetic and in a very short time, and working with it in a different material. I worked with it in my studio with metal points and a technique of drawing, and kind of like shifted some of the drawings. I worked for 6 months, so it's completely different from the energy that was in the live performance, and that's another sections. But that's it for in terms of the activity through the years. And I can't see you for some reason, all of you. You just disappeared. But oh, here you are. Yeah, so I hope I didn't exhausted you too much. You're welcome to unmute yourself, so we can kind of like shift from my broken English and my sort of like excited introduction and not that clear to a more kind of like friendly discussion. about what happened in those 10 years and kind of like share memories also on the way about Draw to Perform. So I'm not with the chat at all, but do we want to start with the chat, or are we okay with the...
מייק מספר...
זה לא יכול להיות ככה בעברית, מאמין. Okay. So okay, I'm ready. So let's first maybe I can ask if there are any questions about the introduction that I just gave now from people from you guys. Is anybody wants to ask me about Draw to Perform in a way, about any subject that you were thinking that you will be interested in asking me a question? Just open the mic and ask it if it's okay. You don't have to be on video. You can delete the video, but let's hear you all if it's okay. Okay. Do we have any question for Ram Samocha?
Hi, it's Rebecca. I was wondering what you think might be next for Draw to Perform.
Hey, Rebecca. Yes, okay. So yeah, thanks for reminding me. That's what I had to do after talking about the 10 years. So I put myself here a suggestion for future activity. And so there are a couple of things that I was thinking about Draw to Perform and the future of this project. One of the things that I was thinking for quite a long time is making a book about Draw to Perform and about all those years and those festivals and those residencies and workshops that happened through the years. Another thing that I was thinking about is sort of like building an archive that will be open to the public to browse through. I had quite a traumatic, I have to say, experience with Facebook because just before the last festival, they deleted all my accounts on Facebook and on Instagram, mine, Ram Samocha, and Draw to Perform. Apparently, I posted too much about the activity of Draw to Perform in their online venues, so they deleted it, and that's when I realized. After building quite a long, I built there a lot of folders that talking about drawing and performance and other ideas about creativity and art, and so people could kind of like browse and brainstorm about the artistic ideas. But I just realized that this is not a place to archive things. This is a commercial place to share announcements. And if you want to archive properly, you have to do it not on social media. So beware about this.
You know why all the accounts were deleted?
Yes, I know why all the accounts deleted, absolutely. So they said that I was posting too many posts on a group, and if I want to announce things, I should use their pay ads or Facebook and not post and not use it for sharing events, but use their ads. Of course, it costs money, so that's what happened. So if you're posting too much, they track you, and yeah, they just delete without any further, you know, like it. They gave me a warning of a month that they're going to delete it. I wrote to them that that was a mistake. I didn't understand, and it was not. It didn't matter. It just after a month deleted all the accounts. Anyway, but there are accounts of Ram Samocha and Draw to Perform on Instagram and again on Facebook. You can follow them, but it won't be an archive of things as it used to be. And that's one of the things that I was thinking about working in the future. Other things and other ideas, and I will happily hear from you guys also. But another thing that I was thinking about in terms of the future is creating an online event for live performances that will happen, you know, across countries that but advertise it online and kind of like do an online event with the selected performances that will happen. And lastly, the main event that I was thinking of celebrating 10 years to Draw to Perform is to create in London, where it all started, to create in 2024 an event that will last for a day, and with an open call to open it to 10 artists that never collaborated ever with Draw to Perform, and kind of like give a stage for them to do 10 performances through this day of event that will happen. So that's my ideas of things to do in the future. And yeah, I hope that there will be more events. Yeah, that's about this. Okay. More questions from do you have, Alma, from the text?
Did you lose a lot of photos from social media, or are they all going to be transferred if you create a new archive?
Okay, so the question is, did I lost photos when they deleted my account? So actually, they deleted all the photos, but I have an archive of everything that I'm posting on Facebook or on Instagram. So everything is with me on my computer. It's not deleted, but it's deleted online. Yeah.
Sorry, Ram, that doesn't make any sense to me, because that's the whole purpose of the platform, is to share it within a group, especially if it's just among a group. That's the whole purpose of
Yeah,
the
Mika, but you
whole
know, like
concept of social media.
it's just made me real. I think it's, you know, there are things that happen for a reason. It just made me realize that because we're not paying on Facebook and we are the product, they can do whatever they want. And you think that you are archiving things there online, but you're not. You can't. And you can be deleted in a second. So yeah, just be aware of it. And I'm really happy that anything that I posted there, I posted from my computer, from things that I saved in my computer. So just do it. I warmly suggest. Yeah.
I must say though, in a way, because you're doing a great job of documenting it on the website as well. There's lots to be found there, lots of photos there, lots of videos there. So if people wanted to look up, it's a great start anyway to get acquainted with the concept and see what is possible, the intention. I mean, that's how I found it. And that's how I got excited about it. And that was, I think, key for me was the videos and seeing people actually do it. The action, watching someone do the action, that was key for me to see. Oh, it's not just about the pretty outcome. It is about the action. So those videos that you posted on the website, for me, that was key. That's what got me excited and made me think about drawing very, very differently. So even though you might have lost it on the social media, I think your website is very, very good for content and how you've posted and what you've posted. So just so you know.
Thanks. I really think that there are things to be done there, and I really wish that I had more time and more support. But for instance, there are two subjects that I'm really eager to do also on the website. One of them is the section of exhibitions, because to talk about the option of performative drawing and exhibitions. Last year, I created an exhibition that the title was Field of Action in London, and quite a few artists participated, but the concept there was to build an exhibition that the actions are happening in one day, and then the leftovers and the remnants of the action are staying as an exhibition in the gallery, and that's what happened. And I think it was quite interesting. This kind of like investigation on this exhibition. And also in the exhibition that I'm just showing now in London, the drawing after performance, and the ability to take further this thing of what do you, of course there is the big subject of documenting live performance and live drawing performance especially, and how do you do it, and how you present it in the past, and how do you recreate it. And another thing that I am thinking I'm adding to it right now is kind of like understanding what do you do with the remnants. And one of the option is just to save it or not save it and show it afterward with the commentation, with videos. And then the other option, which happened to me, is reworking on those drawings and take it to another level. So this is another option that I would gladly would like to present in the website itself, the section of exhibition. The other section is my collaboration through the years with the Enable, which is a drawing machine that designed by designers to also include people with disabilities and to introduce them to the action of drawing. And that's a collaboration that going for running with the Enable drawing machine for like few years now. More than 5 years for sure, and it's a section that I would be very happy to include also on the website. Yeah,
that's an interesting concept, though, to have performance in gallery space. I've actually just I'm pitching to do a drawing performance as an opening for a big sculpture art prize that I'm a finalist in this year. Yay, very excited. Yay for me. And so they've asked me to do workshops. So based on some things that we've done at the residency and some other things that I've sort of like wanted about and what I like, how I like see people moving. It's all about that, becoming about that movement. So I'm doing a workshop, 2 workshops actually, as part of this Sculpture on the Edge up here in Maleny in Queensland, Australia. And I'm then pitching to do at the opening night to do a drawing performance. They've got this hallway where people got to walk through, and it's got a glass on either side. Can you just imagine glass on either side, like what you can do with that? So it's like, yay. So and then leave the remnants there for during the exhibition. But it's interesting how, especially here at the moment, things are shifting about what performance can do. Maybe not so much drawing performance, but performance in general. And I think there's quite a few artists. It's ever since I got back, I did this presentation for Pachakacha night. Things started popping up everywhere. It was like almost like I gave people permission to show their ideas around this concept. So there must be other people around with this idea of mark making as performance. So it was really interesting how certain workshops all of a sudden came up after I did that presentation. It's like, oh, I can see elements of this and that. It's just like, oh, you know, people must be thinking it's interesting. So, but there is a whole new vibe happening here in Queensland, especially where I'm on the Sunshine Coast, which is really a bit too far from anything really hardcore art, not like a Melbourne where it's like bustling and stuff like that. So, but there's a whole new scene being created, very alternative, very experimental, and a lot with to do with movement, where I then put in the mark making and leaving the remnants behind. So the galleries are starting to become more open to the idea of having performance part of exhibitions now, which is great to see. What I would like to know, though, how can I best present this as a pitch for what is the value for them in this? You know, you're going to have probably, you know, maybe 1 or 2 days that you might have 2 or 3 people in, or maybe just one person or a group of people, and how, because usually you just, you know, it gets curated. They know what they're going to get, right? It's going to be a sculpture, it's going to be a drawing, it's going to be a painting. They can see what's going to happen. They can place it somewhere nicely. But how to then to sort of educate in a way the gallery what the value is for what we do.
Is this a question, Mika?
And I know that I forgot your first name, Lauren. You've done quite a few works in this field. Is she still there? Oh, there you are, right there. Because you've done quite a few things in that field. You've been doing amazing work, by the way. I've been following you. A bit of a following geek for you there. But you've been in that space quite a fair bit. How do you present it to the galleries?
Well, galleries approached me actually, but yeah, but I usually like in most of my exhibitions, I combine live performance with recording and with the outcomes, with the drawings themselves as well. And obviously what has a higher like probability of being sold at some time by galleries, it's the actual drawing for obvious reasons. But I like to include like all the other layers of the work, let's say, in the exhibition as well, because even though what you can commercialize is the drawing, the work itself is not the drawing, it's a process, you know? So it's important that the process is present there, either as a live performance or as a film, for example.
Yeah. Okay, because you even won a big prize, which was basically entry of solid work. I mean, your performance won the one with the big circles on the wall with the lights. And so that was very interesting that part of an art prize that won the prize. But, you know, it's a collaborative work that was the remnants that were left behind.
Yeah, but actually I submitted to the prize. The work was a moving image work, actually, when I submitted it. But then once selected, they invited me to do the live performance as well, which, by the way, I had to do remotely because it was in COVID. So it was all kind of complicated, but yeah, that was good. Yeah.
I must say about this book that came through the years, of course, performance drawing. Can you see it?
Oh yeah, that's a really good compilation.
It's hard to see it, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there are many.
Type it in the thing, or what it's called.
Of course, I'll let Alma have it. The first book ever that was about performative drawing, and I was wondering because I said earlier that it's because it's an evolving like concept and practice, and they choose to put a performance drawing. I'm using a lot drawing performance, and I think if they Harley, if you hear, maybe you can answer. If you would have thought about now, after a few years now, if you would have thought about a new name for the book, don't you think you would use performative drawing now as a more accurate description of? I don't know if accurate is the right word, but yeah, like it's. Like we don't really know yet. It's like in flux. So, but it's interesting. Mika, sorry, you just raised a really interesting question that I would like to extend on this. This thing about how to work with the performative drawing. In terms of gallery space and to present it, the ideas of what do you want to do and how to include it in an exhibition, maybe. So all those subjects are really very relevant, and what I would like to say here in terms of my experience lately is next month, I'm going to do a new exhibition in Israel, a solo exhibition, and it will all. And again, I also trying to kind of like investigate the option of live performance that include participation of the audience, and then that it stays as an exhibition after for a month. So what will be there next month is there will be kind of like 2 workshops through a whole day with the students of it's kind of like an art school with a gallery inside, and I will give 2 workshops there for the students. They will kind of like create the sort of the mark making on the walls for the exhibition. So it's kind of like a process that in a workshop create the exhibition. And in the opening, I will give a solo performance there that will kind of like in one of the walls that will collaborate and will stay during the exhibition in this concept of collaborating with the viewers and performing live in the opening, and show it eventually as a whole exhibition. So that's what interesting me right now on how to combine this element of kind of like a static exhibition and an active performance, and the collaboration with students or audience, and how to kind of like eventually to summarize it to a whole exhibition in a way. And of course, thinking about it, I can maybe explain the process that I've been going on lately with the curator of the exhibition, because it is quite hard to come to somebody, and again, somebody approached me and asked me to do an exhibition in the gallery. And when I came with the concept of making all the exhibition live in one day, that's a really challenging idea to present to a curator, because they don't have any sketches, although I've done few that explaining my ideas for this action, but they have to really kind of like be open to what is going to happen in this one day of action. What will be in terms of documentation, and to let other people that never been in the one day of action and visiting the whole month of the exhibition, there will be somebody that will record all the workshops and the live performance, and that will run on one of the walls and give kind of like a reference to what people that coming to see the show are looking at in a way. So this is one of the options in terms of how to share an action. Yeah. Any other? Nava?
Yeah, I
Anything
was
you can
just
share
about
with
to
us?
open my mic. Yes, first of all, I wanted to say thank you so much for building this community. I had the chance to participate in two different symposium. One of them was in 2015 at OCAD. I remember also Robert was there and a few other artists. It was really, really wonderful. We did some encaustic drawing, and Nicole Collins were there, and other great artists. That was a really wonderful experience. And I was actually, I'm sorry, I apologize, 3 times, because the second time was in London and Crow Nest Gallery. And it was really it was a very unique experience, because we were all there for a few days in this big ice kind of a cube space, and there was multiple performances that happening at the same time. And not only that we were all kind of being immersed into our own kind of a durational performance, but there was also audience who kind of in such an organic way entered into the space and participated. And there was some kind of a fluidity between the performance itself, the performers, and the viewers who came and participate. That kind of a fluidity was really special, to the point where there were some moments where you couldn't really tell who's the performer, who is the visitor, and what's happening. And that was really special. And the third time we did it was in Petach Tikva Museum of Art, and I think it was in 2017. And I collaborated with Adaya Gudlevsky, and we did sound to drawing.
Right.
And it was really special. It really, not only that I was able to kind of develop some ideas within my own practice through these symposiums, which was really wonderful, but I also was able to collaborate with artists and continue this kind of a creative dialogue throughout the years. And I'm very grateful for this opportunity, that you not only kind of helped, I can say, from my own practice to find ways to develop my own practice, but also to create this kind of a community that continue to flourish and grow. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. I think one of the things that really I loved about it is, like all through the years, there were many artists that because there were not that much budget, but artists were really keen on exploring this practice. They contributed, and I really was happy to know that even though they put their money, got to London, but eventually met people and build relationships, professional relationships that lasted after the events that we did. And you just reminded me the way that I'm working, because you said that we collaborate in 2015, and in 2014, I was invited to Germany to give a performance in Berlin, and Delonby, which is a very good friend and amazing artist, I had a conversation with him, and he about this practice, and he was asking me, did I collaborated with somebody else? And that's when I started, the seed started to understand that no, until now I didn't collaborated with anybody but myself. And that's led me to this idea of collaborating, of kind of like asking other people to collaborate with me, and also making this festival in 2016 about collaboration and how does this thing happen.
I wanted to add one more thing, is because you were talking about archive and documentation, and this is something that it's kind of, I've been thinking about a lot, and it brings me to these festivals. And I can say again, from my experience, there was a lot of moments when we just entered into a space and we don't really know a lot of things. We kind of had a structure, but there was a lot of improvisation around, and there was a lot of unknowing kind of, but we entered into a space. And I think that only after maybe a few years, sometimes less, I was able to kind of go back and reflect and really understand what actually happened in this space. I wasn't able to really articulate or understand the performative action or certain things that happened. And so that's also, I realized how important it is, the documentation and the archive, not only to share it, but also for us as an artist to be able to understand our process. We need to go back to have this kind of archival turn back to our own materials from different point in time and look and say, okay, now I kind of get the thread of things that were consistent, or I've been doing things this way and that way. So that's how I think about the archive. Yeah, and maybe I can share. It's interesting because you're talking about archive, and I'm just reading this book by Juliet Fink. It's called No Archive Will Restore You. And it's one of the most, just beautiful, beautiful book to really understand what archive. And maybe it's because it's not only the document, there's a lot of things that we experience in our own body that it's archive and it's gone. So it's,
can you share it with the others in the text so they will be able to?
Yes. There's another book, Archive Everything, but I'm going to share it. So, but I wanted to maybe propose a question in relation to draw to perform, or performative drawing, or performance drawing, if it is a drawing or if it is a mark making. And I think gradually over the years, you probably noticed that, technology are entering into the space of drawing and performance. And there was a lot of unique, beautiful performance work that was more kind of about mark making, not necessarily about the drawings. It was just kind of a mark making. And I'm curious to know if you have any thoughts about, for the future, how we would think about performance and drawing, or performativity in relation to technology, in which the materiality of not only the materiality of the drawing or the mark making, but also the performative aspect to it, or the mediacy or the mediation of it is changing constantly. Do you have kind of maybe a wild idea of maybe to think about this symposium that moves beyond the space, the physical space, and creating some kind of meta space for drawing symposium in the future?
Can I comment on that one? And it's got to do with Ram, you know her as well, Kelly O'Dempsey. Mm-hmm. She works in the space of where there's a physical drawing and it's all about the movement, but then it's also the movement created digitally that's overlapped on top of the physical drawing. And for her, it's usually a response, and she's not here to talk about her own work, unfortunately. She's probably still snoozing with the kookaburras. Yeah, she overlaps and she responds to sound. So it's a response to sound, how she does a drawing. And she goes back and forth to doing the physical, actual drawing on the surface, usually a wall, maybe the floor, or walls and the floor. And then she projects her actual drawing on a tablet that overlaps in color and line that moves. So it's like almost like an animation, like engaging the space. And she's been my mentor several times now, so I've seen her work and doing her, following her, what she does and how she does it. She did doctorate on it as well. And it's an interesting concept, the whole digital combination of mark making. I think still it doesn't, I don't think it really matters if it's digital or physical. I think it's about your bodily movement and how you translate what you are doing in a mark somehow. And I don't think it really, I don't know whether it should matter or not, whether it's digital or not. I don't know, Ram, how you feel about it, if it's like, whether it actually matters whether it's digital or not. And you have worked with a video, like you've worked in having a projection of yourself making a painting while you're making a painting.
Yes.
So you had a projection of yourself overlaid of your actual performance. So you've worked in that space before as well. I've worked in that space as well, combined digital and analog. I love that little bit of a challenge of working in different spaces. It makes it interesting. It makes it, it gives it layers. I think not so much for the performer, but more for the audience, that it's whether that's sort of interacted. I don't know if you know Janet Echelman, for example. She's an installation artist where she makes a huge installation between buildings, and then she has projection that translate people on the iPad with the app that they can draw on it. So that makes it interactive. And I think that it somehow it makes it more engaging for the viewer. It depends, of course, what you want to do too. What is the aim of the game? What you want to say with your work? But I think it's a very interesting overlap between digital and analog and what's possible. And I don't know, you know, I'm sort of embracing it. I find it interesting, fun, challenging. It just gives it more depth in a way. And I still like very, you know, physical space engaging, working with movement and the mark making as well. So I don't know if that helps at all, Nava.
Thanks, Mika. Ava, your question was about the future in terms of collaborating with the technology and using technology, or specifically about the future of mark making or live mark making?
I guess maybe just in general, maybe I wasn't so clear. I mean, there's different ways to think about the technology. Not in one way to think about it in terms of the actual practice. We are incorporating different kind of creative technologies in a performative way to create mark making or inscription, but also to think about maybe finding ways to continue this ongoing community, that maybe to think about, yeah, maybe it's kind of a bit of a futuristic, but to think about a symposium or that can happen in the virtual space, or mixed in between also the physical space and the virtual space. Mm-hmm. To open up this kind of a possibility to allow artists, even though they're not, can be physically present in a space, although we know that there's nothing like being present in the space. This is a very unique experience. But I guess, yeah, just maybe I just open up to think about technology in relation to mark making and drawing.
Yeah, I think I can answer just shortly about like the last festival that was about painting and drawing. I collaborated with a duo, Lola and Yoko Met, which are an artists from France, and they also combined projection and technology. But overall, I think there is personally, I'm fascinating with seeing what's going to be the next, you know, like the future with mark making generally, as introducing AI and as communication developing, as using phones much more easily, and yeah, I think you know there's a world there that needs to be explored, and I'm looking forward to see it. And on the other side, I think you know, like there was a stage where performative drawing needed to kind of like shape itself and get a niche within live performance oriented. So to understand what is drawing performance and how it relates and how it relates to performance art, and what is the uniqueness about performative drawing, and saying that, I'm thinking about my description online on my website about drawing and performance, and it's I have to you know, like to kind of like to change and update this description, because it's basically saying that it's an action that has a lot of energy and sharing the process with the audience, but it's much more now. It's so wide, and I really so happy to see other people using mark making, not just in performance themselves, which happened in the past, of course, also, but also like moving it and shifting it to political actions. So yeah. So
I have a question to go on top of the original question. So as you quite eloquently put about it's more of a collaboration with technology, I think as technology gains more agency in itself, that is truly what it becomes. And there's a difference in using technology as a tool and actually engaging and collaborating with technology in that kind of way. So do you feel in the future there might be more collaborations with technology that gains more agency in the future? I mean, that could be an interesting space to dwell. And just to backtrack a little bit as well, I would say that mark making, well, for me anyway, is the basis of all drawing. I mean, it's the start of something. So as you were saying, when you were making work that was being performed on live, then you had the residue, then you returned it to the workshop and you're working over the top. That was when it transformed from maybe action mark making into drawing, maybe. So yeah, it's kind of two questions. Do you feel there's a difference between...
The first question was the kind of like the...
As you feel technology gains more agency, do you feel it will be more of a collaboration than a tool? And the second question...
Just a moment.
We'll do that one first.
And we'll get back to the second one. But I think, in my opinion, you know, it's like I'll answer it a little bit funny. It's like, you know, like when there was this thing with the 80s where it was very creative, and people thought very creative in terms of like artistic area, and people thought that it will be developed, you know, like from Laurie Anderson, and there will be kind of like an evolvement. And what happened in the 90s, people got back to the guitar and to grunge, and so what I'm trying to say is that I do believe that there will be quite a lot of technology oriented and developing this thing with the self and technology. I do believe that it will happen, and I'm looking forward to it. But I also think that as people stick with the guitar, there always will be those ones that will go back to the basic of mark making and just explore this option also in the future, or use it in different ways, or not in different ways, or in familiar ways. Yeah, that's my opinion. And the second question was?
The second question was, what, in your opinion, is the difference between mark making and when it's a drawing? Do you think it's the element of maybe being, I'm trying to think of the right term,
Rebecca, when you're
transient?
saying mark making and a drawing, do you prefer to mark making in a live action, or?
Yes, for me anyway, I feel like when it's live action, it's more likely to be mark making, but not always. I think when it transcends from mark making into becoming drawing, it can be maybe when you're fully engaged with a pattern of an outcome, or maybe you perceive an outcome. That's my opinion though. So I was more wondering how you feel about the process of mark making and drawing, what the differences are to you personally.
Yeah, it's interesting, this subject, you know, because I wrote also questions here about you know, like sometimes I'm thinking, yeah, in the last action I had an artist talk last week in my exhibition, and one of the participants, she was a painter, and she said, I never did a live action, and of course she had quite a nice reaction, but I also was it made me think about, you know, like sometimes in terms of like performative drawing, there are, it's becoming an option, and another door of how to use marks in relation to you know, to drawing. So you don't have to, like, it can be a sculpture or somebody, I don't know, a dancer or somebody. It can be somebody that not will do this thing of performative drawing all their life, but getting, I feel that getting a taster from this practice kind of like have the option to open doors to things that happening afterward in the studio, or in other things that happens to you. So I don't know if I'm answering the question about mark making and drawing, but
I think you are.
I think
Yeah.
it's a tricky one, but I think yes, like
When I was referring to action, just to make it clear as well, because Mika was asking, I was meaning live action. So the choice in order to do so in front of a viewer. So I was saying, you know, a lot of the time mark making is the choice when you choose to do so in front of the viewer. But drawing can sometimes be more personal, but both can change places as well, I think, you know.
Both are fluxes, you know, there are quite a lot of options there in terms of sharing the process in a way, or how to share the process. And of course, that's things that we try to touch upon in the residencies back then. Yeah. Thanks. Do we have any other questions? Somebody? Let's see. Yeah, Robert, can you text us?
Rebecca mentioned about the exhibition you're doing, but it would be interesting if it was in flux the full time. So like if the whole month was using workshops and materials that are.
I don't think that people, can you open the mic and
Numa, I'm sure.
They didn't hear you. I have to answer this question. Can you? Yeah. So Robert just saying, Alma will say what Robert is saying.
Rebecca.
Ah, Rebecca?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
can you? Just a sec, sorry.
Yeah, so Rebecca has mentioned.
Wait, I'll mute me.
Rebecca has mentioned that it would be interesting.
No, it's not working. Okay. So I think what Rebecca suggested, it will be interesting to understand if the whole exhibition that I'm doing will be sort of like in flux, will change over the exhibition and so on. This is one of the things that I was thinking about, and in some of my exhibition it happened. This exhibition, for instance, the live action and sort of demonstration that I did last week, afterwards stayed on the floor of the exhibition and became part of the exhibition right now. In Israel, there will be another performance artist that will do an action and response to the space itself when I'm not there. It's tricky, you know, like, because you have to have quite a lot of how do you say it, to be able to maneuver things, or and technically, and it's quite challenging. But I do believe that this is one of the things that can be very interested in terms of exhibitions, and that the exhibition is changing and evolving and changing over time, and that brings me to the idea of this anecdote that happened in the first fair for drawing that happened here a few years ago in London. I met with the people there to see if Draw to Perform can participate. And one of the things that he told me about performative drawing, and in relation to a drawing fair, is that it makes, including performative drawing, it confused the collectors and made them, you know, like, it confused them in terms of they don't really understand this section of drawing, and it kind of like. And I think over the years, like I think in the past 4 years, let's say, more and more art fairs, including performative actions and performative drawing so also collectors becoming more aware of the ability and the frames and the options of performative drawing and sharing process. and the ability to understand the lines and or what can you collect. That also reminding me here that this thing about me and the exhibition now, because all of the works that I'm showing there in the exhibition in London right now in Drawing After Performance, actually all the first layers were done in collaboration. So only few marks there are mine. Most of the lines were made by other people. So is it my work? Is it a collaborative work? And then how a collector respond to this? I made it a little bit easier because I reworked on it, so you can understand that there is one person in charge on all this structure, on all this decision about composition and whatever. But yeah, it's an interesting question to think in terms of
there's a question from Robert. So Robert has talked about a exhibition by Erwin Worms as 1 minute sculptures, which wasn't about making marks. So he says the drawings are used as instructions, and he's made some stabs at that kind of work where the drawing is the score. So he asks, are we leaving out, or are we maybe focusing too much on the term mark making? What position does it have?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, because I absolutely agree, because and you know, over the years, because I worked in Draw to Perform as the curator, but over the years I tried to not include just only my tastes and my choice of how to do, how to react, or how I prefer to see works and that relating to mark making or to a concept, and try to approach as much as wider options and people that working with different approach and attitude towards performative drawing. And I do think that there's a lot of actions that are out there, and it's of course one of those ones that I remember in Draw to Perform is Katrina Brown in the festival of the fourth festival.
Also, Francisco Fernando, who was sending scores to other artists to come to perform on the wall. He worked.
Yeah, and what Katrina did in this festival that was about movement, she took all her movements from past performances, her movements which she created marks, like actual marks with it, if it's a charcoal, whatever. She took all the movements, and in her performance there, she performed it without any materials. So what left there was just movements. So this is one of the actions, one of the suggestions of how to work with the concept of performative drawing. And yeah, there's many more, I guess, and yeah, I'm absolutely excited to hear about it. Anyone else want to raise a subject or a question? Or
I don't know who just mentioned mark making as an instruction, and I found it very interesting.
As an instruction,
the idea as instruction, yeah.
Well, you know, we had in one of our online meeting, we had Madeleine asking the audience to give her instructions on how to do, on what to do, and she you can tell about it a little bit, Madeleine, please.
Well, that was, yeah, you basically summarized it like pretty well, because yeah, I like very much like participative works, and I usually use instructions for those. But because we were working online, and it was, I mean that was the first time that anyone invited me to do an online performance. And for me, it was quite tricky because you guys were talking about like the use of technology before, but I don't usually use technology other than to document my work, like to make videos or these kind of things. And since Ram, you invited me to do a collaboration with the people who were attending, but we were all in our own houses. The only idea that I could come with was like to invert the process and ask them to give me instructions on what to draw, on what to do with a piece of paper. Some people wouldn't even ask me to make marks. I mean, not make, it was make marks, but I mean, some people were asking me to use like a graphite bar, but some other people just asked me to tear the paper in half, for example, or just crunch it, or, you know, I don't know, it's kind of making marks as well, but I mean, it was like really broad, and anyone could do their own contributions and different points of view, which was like really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting to follow it. Yeah, do we have any other in the section? Yeah. Let me see what I have here, what I wrote here for yeah. Yeah, one of the things that I was reading here, it was the what is related and what is not related, or what's the connection between performative drawing and performance, maybe. And I think that it's really interesting what's happening now in London with the show of Marina Abramovich, and you can like Marina or I don't know, but anyway, I think she's quite opening doors to things that happening in terms of how to present some action that happened in the past, how to rework and how to do the action again for in a context of an exhibition. All those investigations, she's trying to do it over the years, and she did like she did in the Guggenheim. She reworked on or presented the other artist performance that she did herself there. And you know, at one point when I met her also in an exhibition that a few years ago that she did in the Serpentine Gallery, she asked me also, "What are you doing?" Then I said, "I'm doing drawing performances." She said, "Oh, so we're family." So I said, "Yeah." And the questions of this question of why there is a section of performative drawing, like can't it be included in performance art? Why do we need to divide sections in a practice? And that is a question that I think is relevant to think about. Robert, you're saying that, and you can't speak, but I think it's because there's through the years, I think I gave in my lectures, I gave few examples of through the years. I found that a lot of many mind-blowing relation to mark making were done by performance artists that were not relevant or not find themselves relevant at all to performative drawing, but to performance art. People like Paul McCarthy, for instance, dragging the bucket of paint in the studio, or other artists. But yeah, this relationship is still open, and there are quite many questions about it. Myself, if I have to answer why is it relevant to separate it or to work on a niche, performative drawing, I think it's just because that's who I am. I'm not considering myself as a performance artist. I never took a course in performance art or in dance. I'm coming from mark making. I'm coming from sculpture, and I'm coming from painting, which I returned to. It took me a while because like I did paintings, and then I left it, went to drawing and performative drawing, and got back to painting. But overall, I'm coming from fine art, and this is why I relate to a practice like performative drawing more. But many other people can come from a different background and get a lot of inspiration from performative drawing. Yes, Rebecca.
So you're saying it's subjective, really, to the individual, and where your starting point might be in time. So really, it's like anybody can kind of dip their toes in different pools, but maybe the label has to do with how we see ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Or does it make it easier for others to place us in those categories?
Yes, I think overall I don't like people to put categories, but in this special practice, I think there was a need at some point to kind of like to understand this practice and to put kind of like to brainstorm about it. Otherwise, I don't know. It's just it was relevant. It meant to happen. Like when I was back in 2013 in a studio, like when I got to London and I said I'm going to have just a pen and do something and not invite people or like curator drag them into my studio and try to do action. And when I searched for places to collaborate, the only place that I found is Performance Space, which was a space run by artists, performance artists. But even though being there, for instance, kind of like opened the door and was open to what I'm doing and to see it, if it's a performance or not performance, or if it's relevant to the practice of performance art, there were other people that raised their eye and say, is this a performance? What are you doing? Are you a designer? That's what led me actually to create the first festival there, because I felt that there is a need to kind of like somehow to to let people understand what is it, this practice. Yeah.
Elaine's asking, so if you mean like mark making is a thing in itself? Or...
Mark making as a way to, like, mark making as equal to living, to be alive. So that's why dividing it into making a mark, a real mark, or making a gesture, it's not relevant. It's like when I'm saying mark making is like when you are alive, how do you represent yourself, if it's in actual marks or not in actual marks. And I'll go back to Marina Abramovich, like the artist is present. It's also can be extend it much further, but I'm here and I'm looking to you as one-on-one, and when I'm doing it, I'm making my mark, or I'm marking you. So this is also a mark. And actually my next exhibition, the one that I told you in Israel, will be life dash mark. So it's how do you translate it from Hebrew? Life dash line. So I consider that line is representing life. And with me, it's also relating to the loss I had lately of my father, and relating on all this under this umbrella of making a mark, making a line, and live. Yeah.
Robert,
I want to.
He's mentioning how special the performance space was.
Yeah.
To bring that up.
True. It was a very special. It's still
Sorry,
around.
can you repeat that? That was very quiet. I couldn't hear it here.
So Robert is just mentioning how special performance space was and still is, in a way, performance artist in London. All this thing about brainstorming and in an environment with other artists from all over the world, that was very unique thing that happened. And it also, you know, like I'm thinking about the residencies that we had here, and all those amazing people that came from all over the world and brainstormed about mark making together. That's also a privilege that happened, and I hope that will happen in the future also. Jane, any question or raising? I have my dearest teacher from Canada, Jen Bayer, with us. And she, I think she's looking back, well, that was in 2009 that I graduated in Canada, and then Waterloo University. And she's just looking and seeing me in this Zoom, and probably she's saying, "Oh, Ram with his broken English, 10 years and never change. He can't explain himself." But
no, I'm amazed at what you've put together. I think it's just incredible.
Thanks, Jane.
And all the people that you've brought together and all the things that have happened. I think it's fascinating. I think it's really terrific.
Well, you know, the seed was actually, yeah, I left Israel, I came back, I came to Canada, and you opened the door there to do the thesis there about performative drawing. In a way, I was not calling that back then that, but the whole thesis was about sharing the process, right? And that's what helped me when I got into London to develop it and to make it was.
Yeah, I couldn't have imagined from, you know, the first things that you did, where this would go and how many other people would be involved. And it's fantastic. It's really wonderful.
Thanks, Jane. Thanks very much. And I think we almost got to the end. It's almost 10 o'clock here in London. Brighton. I want to thank you all again for being here, and I hope I'll have the chance to share ideas, communicate, collaborate, and brainstorm with you all lovely people and most talented ones, and new people that I haven't, because this is what's life all about, right? Communication and collaboration. So I am thanking you again for being with me today to start celebrating Draw to Perform, and just keep being in action and share with me what you're doing also. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
See you guys.
Thank you. This was amazing. It's great to see people's faces for the few that had their cameras on.
Thank you, Ram, and really great to see you all, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.